Hi, Lexie. Congratulations on. I've just watched the first episode and I'm rather impressed with the amount of effort that went into doing this. I think the first question, having done what you've done in the past and broken that record at a very, very young age, what made you want to do this one now?
Well, for me, when it comes to challenges like this and the opportunity to get so far out of my comfort zone, it really comes to wanting to push the limits of what's possible. And what was different about this new world record attempt was that this time I actually knew what I was getting myself into, and I knew that it was going to be extremely challenging both physically and mentally, but being able to uh, have the opportunity to see the world in such a different way than I had previously was an opportunity that I knew I would regret it if I didn't go for it.
What would you say was the most stressful part of this? Which area of the planet you found the most challenging in trying to sort of have this electric vehicle and I think we saw not to give anything away, but we saw the difficulties you had in Africa. Does it get even worse later on?
Oh yes, that's where the fun really just began. um, Yeah, there's definitely a lot of challenges that we're needing to overcome over the course of that journey, and being in places like the middle of nowhere in the desert where there's no infrastructure for EVs. It's hot. The landscape all starts to blend into one after driving for so many hours that you really have to push yourself to make it through. And I'm really excited for the fact that we're sharing this story now. It's been something that I've been working on over the past 2 years, and the fact that it's now coming out on November 18th on Amazon Prime is so exciting.
Yeah. Why an electrical vehicle? What was about it? Was that a deliberate sort of thing for you to highlight the need to for renewable resources rather than using petrol? And was that a deliberate thing, or was there a political sort of commentary on that at all on your
So
behalf?
Yeah, so the inspiration for this journey was actually from an adventurer named Aloha Wanderwell, who in 1922 became the first person to drive around the world. And she did it in a Model T. And that was during a time where there was nothing really like it that's ever happened before. And based on her inspiration, we really wanted to, with this documentary, showcase what's possible, because when people think about EVs, they are relatively a new form of transportation, and there's a lot of things that are very unknown about it. When people think about electric vehicle travel, they ask, is that even possible? And maybe it's not, maybe the world isn't ready for something like this yet, because what is the infrastructure like? So the main goal of being able to, first of all, do something that's never been done before in this way was to really get a global snapshot almost of what the current state of electric vehicle travel is around the world in such a diverse amount of places, to really explore what the challenges are with it, and also, from what I experienced, what surprising benefits there actually are. And it's funny because going into this journey, I had never even driven an electric vehicle
Oh
before,
yeah, no,
so
you
there
said.
was a learning curve with it.
Having done this, do you feel kind of positive? Do you feel sort of inspired that in the future, and perhaps even in the near future, we could be using electric vehicles everywhere? Is there a scope for that all around the globe, or do you think we're still quite far from that?
I think what was really fascinating that I wasn't necessarily expecting on this trip was how genuinely curious so many people were about this type of vehicle and the kind of questions and also genuine excitement, because in a lot of the places that I went to, like Zimbabwe, for example, they had never even seen an electric vehicle before. And I do think that the future for EVs is quite bright, because the whole world is really working on adopting this infrastructure quite quickly.
Mm. Yeah, I want to go back a little bit to your past, to sort of this challenge that you did before even hitting the age of 22. You decided to visit every single country in the world, and you achieved it. And which is an incredible thing to do at any age, but at a young age is even more impressive. Are there any countries that stayed with you all the way through, even on this one, that you absolutely fell in love with?
I absolutely adore so many different countries for totally different reasons. It's nearly impossible to pick a favorite because, for example, I love Egypt for the history, places like Venezuela and Brazil for the natural beauty. I've got a personal tie with France and Japan for the best food. If I had to choose just one favorite country right now, though, I think that it might be Bhutan. It's just a
Oh,
hidden country in the Himalayas, and it's also known as the happiest country in the world. And after traveling there for myself and meeting so many amazing people and experiencing the culture, I can definitely attest to that.
well, I guess in your first adventure, you pretty much did it all by yourself, and you were essentially on your own doing all of this. And on this one, you have more of a team. What are the differences there personally? Was it easier for you to have a team behind you, like a team sort of putting together this documentary?
There were so many differences between my first world record attempt and the second. The first world record took over 3.5 years
Mm.
of working on it, more or less entirely on my own. And there were some pros and cons that came with that, but I really loved to have the experience this time around, traveling with a documentary film team who was capturing all of the highs and lows. And it was so different, and that's one of the things that I was most excited about going into the journey, was the fact that even just traveling this massive distance overland was something that I hadn't done previously. So it was definitely an interesting one.
Having this career that you've had as a YouTuber, as someone who's so used to working alone and having like full sort of, you get to decide for yourself whatever happens. Does it feel a bit sort of stressful or irritating when you've got other people who are involved with, or do you have to stop yourself from thinking that way at all?
I think I think that being having the ability to be collaborative it opens a lot of doors to go farther and do even more unique things than you would really be able to do on your own. So I think that's the best part. And I mean, I've gotten used to working with a team over the past few years, because I now also have my own team. And I personally love working with other creative people and making these type of wild ideas come to life in like a film format. So I think I learned so much from this process, and it feels surreal to finally be able to put it out into the world.
Another aspect of this is being a woman, obviously, and traveling and in a world where, especially in countries where women don't have that kind of autonomy. Did you feel it at all this time around as well?
I think that there's always, regardless of whether you're traveling or not, whether you're home, whether you're abroad, this is something pretty universal, unfortunately, for women to experience a wide range of harassment or uncomfortable feelings when you're just existing. So it's something that I've really wanted to very intentionally not let limit my life in any way. And for me, when it comes to traveling, especially when I'm alone as a woman, having a really strong connection to my intuition, always following my gut because your gut's usually right, and also just really focusing on like common sense, not getting intoxicated, for example, not wandering around at night. Those type of things are really essential for avoiding getting yourself in any unnecessarily uncomfortable situations.
Yeah. What do you think you've learned about yourself doing this latest documentary?
I really have learned so much throughout this experience, and I think it was very affirming yet again that in spite of there being days that are really challenging, that I'm still capable of accomplishing anything that I set my mind to. And it's always about following through with what you say you're going to do, no matter what that means, and being able to commit to this, and regardless of how long it was going to take, was really meaningful for me.
I guess I only have one last thing to ask you, which is what next? Maybe
Oh
perhaps
boy.
space?
Well, since this has been, something that I've poured so much love and attention into over the past 2 years, I've been really focusing on uh, releasing this documentary into the world, and I'm mainly just excited to see what people are going to think about it, what people are going to take away from the story. And in the meantime, I'm going to maybe relax a little bit and think about what's next year.
Brilliant. Thank you so, so much. Congratulations again. I really enjoyed it. Fantastic show. And yeah, good luck with it. Thank you.
You.
Cheers, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!